You've got lots of real estate questions. Should I downsize? What improvements do I need to make before I sell? What will Connecticut's real estate market be like in 6 months? It's time for The Real Estate Show with Pat Civitella. He's got your answers. Call 203-333-9422. Now, here's your host, Pat Civitella.
Hello, and to everyone, and good evening, and thanks for tuning in to The Real Estate Show with your host, me, Pat Civitella, over 35 years experience in the real estate investing game. And this show is about creating long-term wealth through real estate investing. And I'm going to talk about producing passive and residual income with real estate. I'm also going to share with you my knowledge and offer my guidance and inside information that I've learned and developed over the last 35 years. And I can also show you how to use real estate investing as a primary or secondary means of income. And we're also going to get into a lot of home improvement tips on the show, and also what the best improvements are for your property and some suggestions and ideas. So I encourage everyone to call early on in the show because the half hour does go by quick. The phone number is 203-333-9422. That's 203-333-9422. If you have any questions, comments, anything, just call in and we'll see if I can help you with that. And this show is brought to you by our sponsor, 1-800-MR-JUNKER, junk removal made easy. They will take the good, the bad, and the ugly. No need to do anything except for point what you want gone. And they will do either one item or complete house or business clean out. That's our friends at 1-800-MR-JUNKER. They're ready to serve you. Been serving Fairfield and New Haven counties for over 15 years. Please call them and tell them that Pat Civitella from WICC referred you, and you'll get 10% off your job. That's 1-800-MR-JUNKER for all your junk and cleanup removal. They offer also same-day service. They're also hot tub removal specialist, and they offer a free junk car removal. Again, that's 1-800-MR-JUNKER. Give them a call today, and you will be happy that you did. Okay. I'm going to just go over some stuff that I haven't covered in a while for the new listeners. A little bit about my background, how I got started in this. So my background came to this country with my mom and dad and my sister, 1969, many moons ago. And we settled in Ansonia. And as kids, this is back in late 60s, early 70s. We did a lot of playing, a lot of games, and one of our favorite pastimes were board games. And one of my favorites was the game of Monopoly. And I just grasped that game so quickly and just loved the whole concept of going around the board and collecting your 200 when you go past go. And really got good at that game that, every time we played it, I probably won like 9 out of 10 times. And, my sister, my cousins, and all of our neighbors really never wanted to play anymore because they said, you're gonna buy everything, you're gonna win. I says, well, I just enjoy the game. So that's how I really got started in the game in my mind as a 10-year-old or however I was. And as I grew up over the years, I started investing in real estate at the age of 25 years old. Was my first property that I bought, and I still own it today. So it's just a great business for me, and that's why I just have a passion for it. I just love the concept. The overall is just taking I always say is taking nothing and turning it into something, or taking what people think is nothing, because the majority of people, some of the things that I've done or rehabbed and stuff. I mean, I've even had my relatives and even my sister at one property. I remember back a few years ago, I brought it to show her the property. And she goes, Pat, what are you going to do with this? You're going to knock it down? I go, knock it down. I go, no. I says the complete opposite. We're gonna redo this whole property, but it's just that I think I just have a gift of I have that vision of how anything could be. You know, what and real estate is just like one of my all-time favorites. And people just, I guess you either have it or don't. And I guess it's the same when, when we're showing some of our properties or when we show them that sometimes, I think I talked about this a while ago, that back a few years ago when the market wasn't as strong as it is today, we used to have to stage some of the properties because people couldn't envision in their mind, like, where's the couch going to go? Where's this going to go? And it's so, in order to sell the property, we would have to stage it. And, but I already in my mind, I know like where things are going to go and stuff along that line. So, that's how I got involved in this business, and we're still doing the business today. I have my oldest son, Antonio, in the business with me, and he's my general contractor and runs the construction and remodeling part of our business every day. And I'm out there talking to people almost every day about real estate. So I enjoy it. Everybody that I talk to, I talk about something about real estate. So, again, if you have any questions, please feel free to call into the station. That's 203-333-9422, and it's WICC 600 AM, 107.3 FM.
Pat, you were talking about the vision of looking at properties, and your sister mentioned about knocking a place down. Is there a big difference in cost versus leveling a place and starting from scratch versus doing repairs and getting an existing building up and running?
That's a great question, Rich, and I'm glad you asked that. And yeah, I mean, to knock a place down, in today's prices, you're looking at probably a minimum, I would say, like just an average home, like probably like $20,000. And to me, it's like, there's that old saying a lot of times in real estate, you hear people saying, well, if it's got good bones, which the structure or the foundation, everything, if everything's good, then to me, it's just, cosmetics and independent. If we have to go the whole 9 yards like we're doing in this property, this three family that we're doing now, that we had to gut it to the walls, to the studs, and we're redoing everything. To me, it's still a benefit because to me, to knock it down and start from scratch, it's like it just adds so much time and money to the project that it doesn't make sense in my book.
Does it depend on how old the foundation is? Because some of the old homes, I would think, might be able to put, like, the insulation was never a thing back in the years ago.
You're absolutely,
whereas now they got the fiberglass, so something like that would have to be added. But the basic frame of the house might be in better shape than you would think.
Absolutely. Most of the homes in this area, like, this New England area, and, most of the homes that are built in the 20s and 30s and 40s, they were all built solid and strong. I mean, they're, like you said, but a lot of them didn't have insulation, which that's an easy fix, so that's not a big deal. And because we've done it all in this business, that to me, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But to the average homeowner or the average person who maybe wants to start investing in real estate is going to say, oh, I don't know. I got to change the heating. I got to fix it. I got to do the plumbing. And what I think the problem behind that is people just don't know the cost of things. So, and automatically, if you're not involved or you don't know what the cost of things, you just assume that it's going to be 3 times of what, sometimes the average person just thinks it's 3 times of what it really is, Like, for instance, the other day I was working on getting some new windows for one of our buildings. And these windows, I went and measured them. They're like 48 inches wide. And they're over 96 inches tall. I mean, these are huge. It's a commercial building. It's a big building. So I'm thinking, holy mackerel. I mean, I didn't realize the size of these. Well, I look at them every day, but when you go to measure them and you get those measurements, you say, holy mackerel. And so I think the average person, if you showed them that window and they looked at it and they would say, and you would say, well, how much do you think that window is? They're probably going to say, I don't know, $1,000, $1,500. But then I went and measured them. I called up one of our suppliers, gave them the measurements and stuff. They came back at I think it was like $575, which is still, not cheap, but it's still, half of what probably somebody would think it is, and that's my point in going and explaining that to a lot of people, that people don't understand the cost of things. It's important, whatever you're involved, whatever business you're involved in, whatever venture, is you need to know the basics is what things cost, So that's
like dealing with heat. Remember my grandparents' house. had the old radiators, which were a very good way of heating.
Yes.
I don't know whether they still have a radiator type system that might be more efficient than what was back in like 100 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think they make a radiator system anymore. They have new technology in heating, but I think we have one or two properties still with the old radiators, and I tell you that's the best form of heat because it's water, it's hot water, steam, and once that water gets the temperature, it's just like it's a constant, steady temperature. It's not like you have to. Like the hot air furnaces, you go, the room cools down, it kicks back up, the room cools down and it's on and off, especially when it's really cold out. So to me, that old steam system is probably one of the best systems ever invented. Is just because it's just water going through the furnace or the boiler that it heats up and it just keeps the room, a nice temperature. Once it gets heated up, it stays,
Especially when you have a better insulation in the walls as opposed to the old days too.
Absolutely. And again, insulation is an easy fix too because a lot of the older homes that didn't have insulation, you can do it through the outside, which they drill the holes, and then they'll just feed that foam insulation in or that styrofoam or I forgot what it's called, like a spray foam. They spray foam each cavity, and you go right down the line and you do the whole house. I think they could do an average house now probably less than a day, probably in a half a day, once they have it all laid out and where the cavities are and they drill the holes and fill it in with the spray foam.
I've been in my house for 40 years, and it started out when I started having some major renovations done back about 30 years ago. They ripped one wall out in my bathroom, rather, and the guy showed me. I was gone for the day, and they had 5 big garbage bags filled with, it looked almost like wood chips that they had poured in through the top.
Yes.
And he said it had settled down. So he said the bottom third of your wall was insulated with this stuff, but the top 2/3 over the years, there was no insulation in there.
Right, because they would all sink to the bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's amazing the stuff that you see through the years, how everything has developed, obviously for the better. But, so I also wanted to give everybody my information to contact me during the week or, when I'm not on the show. My office number is 203-736-2484. That's 203-736-2484. And my email is patcivitella@gmail.com. That's Pat, P-A-T, Civitella, C-I-V-I-T-E-L-L-A @gmail.com. So if you have any interest in buying or selling any properties, and you have any questions, I'd be happy to give you any information I can, no obligation. If you have any questions on any type of improvements, feel free to call me or call my office, and I would be happy to help you any way I can. So a little bit about my background. I'm going to go into this week's market at a glance before we take a break. So I have 3 breakdowns. I try to do it every week, but I don't think I did it in a couple of weeks. But the market at a glance for this week, I have New Haven County and Fairfield County, and then I also do the town of or the city of Milford because that's where I live. So starting with New Haven County, the days on the market are 84 days for this month. The average sale price is $467,000. Percentage of list price received, it's still at, believe it or not, Rich, it's over 100%. It's at 101.4. So people are still over bidding for the prices. And the inventory for New Haven County is 901 for this month. Fairfield County, the days on the market is 80 days, a little shorter. Average sale price in Fairfield County is $951,000. That's over double what it is in New Haven County. Percentage of listed price received is 102%, almost 100.2.9. And inventory of homes is 1,079 for Fairfield County. And Milford, days on the market is 73. The average sale price is $534,000, and percentage of price received is 100%. And inventory of homes in Milford is 70. So that's the breakdown there for for the market at a glance for this week. You had New Haven, Fairfield, and Milford. We're going to take a little quick break, and I'll be back. I'll be back shortly, and I think we have a caller online, so we'll be right back.
Got real estate questions? Call 203-333-9422 and ask Uncle Pat.
Okay, welcome back to the Real Estate Show with your host, Pat Civitella here. And do we have somebody online, Rich?
Yeah, we got Boz from Bridgeport.
All right, let's take a look. Hey, Boz, how you doing? You there?
Uncle Pat, how are you, brother?
Good. How are you?
Good. I love the call screener's accent, fellow Long Islander.
Yeah, my buddy Richie here.
He's great. You were talking about old houses. I'll be quick. I just want to throw out there that the house I live in, well, I own two. One was built in 1914. Actually, It was built by Colonel Parker. He was a colonel in the Civil War. And the house I live in was built in 1918. And sometimes when you have a plumbing issue, which we had over here with the kitchen sink, sometimes with the 18-inch stone foundation, it's easier for people to go from the outside, take the clapboard off, take the sheathing, and then there's your pipes right there instead of trying to crawl so far in from the basement or whatever. So, people looking at repairs, sometimes going from the outside in on the houses of this genre sometimes is, easier way to go. Even if it's, we had to do a repair a couple of years ago on the driveway side for the shower.
Yeah.
And again, we took the clapboard off. We went in from the outside, nice and clean, didn't have to break any tile, didn't have to break any plaster, put the clapboard back, numbered everything, and tutti finiti, it was all done.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a house like that that we had a leak that we couldn't find. It took us almost like 2 days to find out where that leak was coming from, and it was like in between the outside plate of the house and the first one of the floor joists. That I don't know how they swung that water line through there, but it sprung a little pinhole leak. And it made us crazy. And you're right. We opened it up from the outside because it was a much easier fix than going into the inside through the walls.
Yeah, you're not going to break the. And, a lot of people they say, "Gee, the old houses didn't have insulation," but in a way they did, because back in the day when you had the coal furnace and you had gravity fed,
yes,
the coal furnace in the basement in the wintertime was always lit. It wasn't before they put the blowers on it. So what had happened back then, houses like what I live in, because the basements weren't finished, the hot air in the basement, hot air rises, would be in between the wall. So you would have maybe 38, 40 degrees a little bit. So that's all you would need to keep the pipes from freezing.
Correct.
Also, too, on an older house, sometimes the outside wall is a little bit thicker, and the pipe might be in a little bit. But the heat would just be in the basement, and it would just wick its way up the wall, up to whatever the second. And that barrier, vapor barrier, if you will, was, I'm sure pipes froze back in the day if people weren't careful, if they didn't keep the basement warmer. But with those big cast iron furnaces going 24/7, that heat was in between the sheathing and where the pipes were.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interior walls were all the old plaster with the metal sheathing and then the plaster on top of it. You're right. That hot air would go in between those two cavities and go right up to the top of the house.
The house I live in, you'll love this because you know what I'm going to talk about, is wood lat. So now think about back in the day, the lat guy, probably some young kid. You put the first one and you put how many 2x4s. Let's say you're doing a closet and you got 3 2x4s there. So you tack. Now the next one is the spacer. You flip that up, tack, spacer, flip it up, tack. Now you're doing a whole 1,200. There's a lot of lattice. Could you imagine if those guys came here today, Uncle Pat, and saw
Yeah,
they wouldn't believe it.
Yeah,
that's what they needed. The air guns that the guys have today. You know how fast you could do the lat then? If you were able to bring them back and see.
Yeah,
with
you're talking about with the pneumatic guns and the
Yeah. Could you imagine if those guys could see what they would use? Now they don't do woodlat, but
right.
wouldn't have that been a big help instead of tack, 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 tack?
Yeah,
tack,
absolutely,
tack, tack.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then my ceilings here are almost 9 feet, so you got to do the living room wall, the living room closet, the wall. There's so much wood.
On and
here's
on.
another thing. When they dug these foundations, it was men, right?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to this, but they probably had 25, 30 guys. Everybody got a shovel, sketched out where the foundation's going to be, the hole.
Right.
Here we go. Dig.
Right,
Dig.
absolutely.
Let me tell you something. Those plumbers and those guys back in the day, they didn't need to go to a gym and work out.
Oh, I know. Even like I come across sometimes the old power tools, like the old circular saws. I came across one. I forgot where I was, but I came across one, Boz, and that thing, without exaggerating, had to be, I would say, 25 pounds. An old skill saw made by Sears and Roebuck from the 1940s. I mean, can you imagine the forearms on those guys?
Wow. Well, earlier than that, like the houses I live in, it was just the miter box. And then we did some work here, and I have the crowns over the top of the windows.
Right,
and there's
right.
the flat piece. We had to take it apart because many years ago I did an addition, and there was a guy in Ansonia. His name was Vinny, and I brought him the original 1918 trim, and I had all the trim for the room we added on to match the original trim.
Right.
It's beautiful. It's just like you walk from one room to the other, you don't even know. Anyway.
Right. All right, Boz.
And,
I'm gonna have to. I don't want to cut you short, but I'm running out of time, my friend. I appreciate you calling in.
Thanks, Uncle Pat.
I appreciate you calling in. Stay tuned. Thank you, buddy. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. That skill saw just stays in my mind. Without exaggerating, that thing had to be from the 1950s. It was maybe about a little bit oversized than what you have today, but I went and lifted that up, Rich. It had to be, without exaggerating, 25 pounds. Imagine they're cutting wood all day long, 25 pounds in one hand, and it is like, I mean, it was just incredible. Yeah, so I forgot where I left off now. All right, we're going to talk about, and we got a short time, so first of all, I forgot to mention my granddaughters, and I told them that I would. I want to say good night to Mia, my granddaughter Mia Civitella, and also Juliana Rosa. I know you guys were over today, and Pop loves you very much. And have a good night and a good day tomorrow at school. And now I just wanted to go over a couple of closing notes. How much time we got, Rich? We got about 5 minutes? 5 minutes, okay. There was actually, I want to go over this real quick. There were some deals that I came across today because, I'm always talking about real estate investing, and I wanted to bring this to someone's attention, to my audience attention. Three deals that look good on paper, at face value. This is obviously, I haven't looked into it and so forth, but just by basic numbers and looking at basic pictures, here's a 3-family. For $249, it's 1,800 square feet, almost 1,900 square feet. Here's another 3-family for $249. It's almost 2,000 square feet. And then there's another 3-family for $279 that was on the market today, and it's almost 3,000 square feet. Again, there's opportunities out there, and I wanted to bring it to my audience attention that if you're interested in something like this, give me a call. But I mean, just like I said, just off the face value, by the numbers and the pictures of the place, these properties would all be positive cash flow properties. So I wanted to bring that to the attention of everybody out there, and I wanted to go over the top 5 home improvements that you'll get most for your money on your home. The number 5 is bathroom remodel. Number 4 is finished basement. Number 3 is minor kitchen remodel. Number 2 is the new deck or patio. People love outdoor space. And the number 1 top home improvement to get your most for your biggest bang for your buck is any landscaping and any exterior work like new paint on the outside. power washing, cleaning, that gives you the best bang for the buck for top home improvements. So I wanted to go over that. And also, last week we had talked about investing. There was one more article that I found today. Here it is. It's about all cash sales, Rich, for the month of February is up. February 2024. This is national averages. Purchases in full cash has been 33%, Rich. That means almost three out of 10. 33% is a third. 3 out of 10 homes are being purchased in cash. I mean, and it keeps going up and this is going back from February of 2023 was 28%. Now it's up to 33%. I thought that was some interesting news that I wanted to share with everybody. So I just wanted to go over my closing notes because we're getting ready to end here.
Can you get better deals from the bank the more you put down as a down payment? If you're paying, say, like $300,000 and you've got $200,000 to put on it, so you're only taking a mortgage for $100,000.
As far as interest rates, no.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably buy like lower points if you don't want to buy the points or closing points, you could pay a little more on that, but interest rates are pretty much set.
Does it change as far as if you're taking out a 10-year mortgage for $100,000 versus a 20-year mortgage for $100,000? Yeah,
it depends. Yeah, that does matter, but it's not a huge
Okay.
difference. It might be half a point or 3/4 of a point, but it's not that big of a deal, Rich. But going into my closing notes, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and always remember, buy assets, not liabilities. Pay yourself first. I think I talked about that last week or the week before. It's important to pay yourself first, and I'm going to go over that again next week. Remember that you make a living from 9 to 5, but you become financially independent from 5 to midnight. Don't forget that. Dig a well before you need it. Be prepared, just like a good Boy Scout. Again, there's good debt and bad debt. And when you're buying assets and not liabilities, especially real estate, that's a good debt. And people get confused on that, and people think that any type of debt is no good, and that's not right. That's not true. Always stay positive, and then, don't forget, it's hard to soar with the eagles when you're hanging around with the turkeys. So this is a good night from everybody. Buonasera a tutti. Alla prossima settimana. Thank you for tuning in to the Real Estate Show with your host, Pat Civitella. Thank you, and God bless America. Have a good night.